While I have always felt younger than my age and have identified, frankly, with people younger than me, I now have to admit that I have more and more in common these days with those of you who are chronologically gifted congregants. I am more acutely aware, by the increasing aches and pains and medications that I take, that I am, in fact, aging. Some of you are aware that I have an arthritis advancing in my right hip and that I will be having it surgically replaced in June. I am fortunate to have the insurance and medical care to afford it, and because it is an elective surgery, I'm somewhat able to prepare for it. My body, abilities, and life, just like yours, are changing. One of the only constants in life is that all things change. And we as human beings, human animals, tend to prefer the status quo to the unknown. Living long enough forces us to embrace life's finitude and the truth that all things change. Such is the case, for example, when new lives come into the world, or friends and loved ones transition from this life to whatever might follow. We naturally fear what we do not know or understand, especially in times such as these, as our anxiety is raised and we might become disoriented. Life might begin to look like a jumbled, upside-down, totally disorganized mess of jigsaw pieces. In times such as these, we might ask the questions that Reverend Haley posed in our chalice lighting. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? Some of us feel compelled to deal with our anxiety by doing something. I can't tell you how often I find myself driven by my anxiety to wash the dishes, clean the litter boxes, or take out the garbage. My anxiety also has prompted me to act prematurely, my lips speaking before my frontal lobes have a chance to think about the consequences of my words or actions. Maybe you can relate. As Reverend Haley pointed out, we in our anxiety grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, memes and emails, as if a new zodiac might forecast all that life may yet bring our way. And as Reverend Trimble wrote in our first prayer, we grieve what has been lost, what has changed, what cannot be restored. We long for what is broken to be made whole again. But I believe that in every crisis or conflict there is the potential or the possibility that some positive outcome may come. I don't believe I'm a Pollyanna. Tragedy can yield more than loss or grief. Vehicular accidents lead to greater safety measures for all. The global pandemic led to greater technological, behavioral, and environmental awareness. Thank you to Melanie, John, and Andrew for some outstanding music today. Lyrics for the song Up Jumped Spring, written by the great jazz singer Abbey Lincoln in 1991, speak to both to the depths of human despair and to the suddenness with which good things might happen to us. I was out promenading, and high hopes was fading. The dreams never really come true. When up jumped springtime, I got a look at you All at once, it was heady. A gaze long and steady made sounds of the patter grow dim. And up jumped springtime, and love came on in. I hope that everyone here has had some similar experience, that just when we had lost hope, something shifted, something positive jumped into our figurative laps or arms. Sometimes it might be love, that transformative power of love itself. One of our key Unitarian Universalist values is transformation. We may not always like it. God knows we rarely like it. But we have to accept that life is finite and constantly changing. And we affirm that transformation is not only natural but necessary for a thriving, robust, more just, and more equitable world. Reverend Trimble's prayer invites us, despite inevitable losses, to see what remains and what remains sacred to us, to honor what still carries life, to care for what has endured. For we are not merely victims of fate or circumstance. We are actors in this still unfolding story. We are intelligent. We are deeply connected and resilient. We do have agency. Even if we can't do anything about what is changing, we can at least adjust our understanding of that change. It is in this process, Reverend Haley suggested, as we gather and surrender to mystery together, release ourselves from needing to know the answers, the yearning to have it all figured out, the burden of believing we have either all the control or none. Here in this sacred community, we make space, sacred space, for a new breath. Everyone take a breath. A new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root through our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing. More than once I have heard that this fellowship means so much to so many people because it provides stability in an unstable world and our unstable lives, a sanctuary and respite from hardship. Because here we might bring one another courage in what Reverend Haley called an act of faith. That not only do we believe still that a new world is possible, but that we are creating it already, here and now. Or as we sang, we might bring one another hope when hope is hard to find. Amid the cruelty and ugliness of the world, we might bring one another a song or message of love and beauty. How many of you were aware, A, who Christopher Reeve was, and B, that he was a Unitarian Universalist? Surprised. If you search online for famous UUs, his is one of many names that pops up. Here he was, literally and figuratively, flying high. A world-renowned actor playing a beloved mythic superhero, a wealthy, privileged, straight, cisgender white male enjoying everything that life had to offer. until he wasn't. Until the day of his accident, when his life changed forever. To be sure, it didn't change everything. He remained a wealthy, privileged, straight, cisgender white male. He remained an actor. He still had his intelligence, his determination, and his heart. But his body wouldn't move below his head. He had to blow into a straw to move his wheelchair forward. At times he was overwhelmed with sadness and fear and wondered if his life still had meaning. When he wanted to give up, his wife Dana said the powerful words that he needed to keep going. You are still you, and I love you. He realized that he still had many gifts: love, determination, and a voice that people listened to. He became a film director and producer, an author, and an audiobook narrator. But he also became a member of a marginalized community, the differently abled. He became an advocate and speaker for people with spinal cord injuries. With his wealth, he created a foundation for paralysis and spinal cord injury research. And he became a Unitarian Universalist during his recovery. Why? Because his injury made him question everything. He needed a spiritual dimension to his life. And Unitarian Universalism was there, providing him with a moral compass, a non-violent image of God, and a call to his own conscience as a spiritual authority, an authority we still value today. The story reminds us not only what each of us is capable of, but that we are each filled with so many more possibilities than we know. Reverend Pape's reading invited us in times of adversity to stay present to the slow work of sorting through the apparent mess, sorting through the messages we give and receive, the raft of emotions we feel, the resources available to us, the boundaries we need for healthy relationships, the stuff we need to get rid of, the decisions we need to make, sorting, the slow work of sorting, staying present to that slow work of sorting, because from the mess of a life that appears to have no resolution, with patience, little by little, a new possibility of healing, a new pattern or picture or path might emerge for us. I invite us all to consider that this perspective of abundance might help us all carry a healthier and more graceful mindset as we cope with life's finitude, changes, and challenges. Chief among the transforming powers of the world and a key Unitarian Universalist value is love, the kind of love that Dana Reeve showed her husband when he was ready to give it up. The same kind of love we all can show one another as our bodies, abilities, and lives change. In our second prayer, Reverend Laval invited us to hear the voice within calling us to ask what's possible, to approach the edge of our knowing, to shed the fear and need for control, and to dance with the infinite for a while. I will close with a paraphrase of her words. May we see obstacles as invitations for innovation, beckoning our creativity. May we hear each other's voices of love and encouragement. May we hear the cries of the world asking us, who do we choose to be? May we be vessels of comfort and compassion, vessels of hope and healing, vessels of peace and justice. And in the name of all that is holy, may love prevail. May it be so, and amen.